In this video, we are going to study about the nervous system and the reproductive system of earthworm and Hirudinea. Okay, the nervous system of earthworm consists of an anterior nerve ring. This is the anterior ring and a double ventral nerve cord. And this ring, anterior nerve ring, is made up of three structures. First one is cerebral ganglia. Ganglia. Okay, cerebral ganglia. And second one is circumpharyngeal connectives and subpharyngeal ganglia. Third one is subpharyngeal ganglia. Three structures. The anterior nerve ring is composed of three structures: cerebral ganglia and circumpharyngeal connectives. Third one is circumpharyngeal ganglia. Okay, this is about the nerve ring. And from the nerve ring, okay, next one is the cerebral ganglia. The structure, cerebral ganglia fuse to form a brain, and this will form in the pharynx region or the segment of pharynx. Then the paired circumpharyngeal connectives, that is also in the anterior nerve ring, that encircle the pharynx and meet. So the second one, that is CPC, circumpharyngeal connective, encircle the pharynx and meet ventrally in the subpharyngeal ganglia. Okay, so actually there are three structures are there, and these three structures will form the anterior nerve ring. Okay, so this anterior region, this one is made up of cerebral ganglia, then laterally it circumpharyngeal connectives and circumpharyngeal ganglia is there. Sorry, circumpharyngeal connectives and subpharyngeal ganglia is there. Okay, and this is the subpharyngeal ganglia, and from the subpharyngeal ganglia there are double nerve cord arrays. Okay, and from the double nerve cord there are so many lateral connection which give supplies to the different segments. So many lateral branches are there and which will give supplies to the segment. There are so many segmental nerves are there. Okay, this is about the nervous system of the earthworm. Next one is the reproduction of earthworm. The earthworm is hermaphrodite. That means they can produce both the male and the female gametes. Okay, so we know that the clitellum is present from 13 to 17 segment which overlap the genital opening. So in case of the earthworm, it hermaphrodite, it can also cross fertilize between it can mate between different individual. That is called cross fertilization. So during mating, two individuals of earthworm come together in opposite manner. Okay, so male genital pore of one earthworm which touches or which rests on the spermatheca, that is the sperm store of the earthworm. So the male genital pore which touch or rest on the spermatheca opening of the another. So what happened is the sperm from the male genitalia will release into the spermatheca of other. So the sperm will store in the spermatheca of the other, that is second earthworm. Sperm of the first earthworm release from the male genitalia which reach the spermatheca or which store in the spermatheca of the second individual or the second earthworm. Okay, and this second earthworm during the breeding time, which will produce a special shell-like structure or girdle from the clitellum. That means the clitellum release some structure, some secretions like mucus as well as albumin protein. This will form a shell or a girdle around the clitellum. clitellum is between 13 and 17, and this albumin and mucus will form a girdle-like structure or an outer shell in the clitellar region, and the earthworm pull the body out of this shell, and this pulling, as a result of this pulling, the shell touches or which reaches the spermatheca. Spermatheca is store of sperm, so the sperm release into this shell like or this girdle. Okay, and again this earthworm pull their body out of this shell. As a result, this clitellar girdle which touches the female genitalia, and ovum will release into the shell. Can further it pull out the body. As a result, what happened is sperm and egg in this shell or girdle will fuse together and form a zygote. And after all, the shell is not closed one. After earthworm pull out their body completely from the shell, it is open, and using the albumin and mucus, the earthworm will close the cocoon, the shelter, and it is called the cocoon. And the zygote will develop directly into earthworm inside this cocoon, because there is no larva in the developmental stages of earthworm. So the earthworm will develop into a miniature form directly inside this cocoon. This is about the development of earthworm. I think it's clear. If you have any doubts, you can message me. Okay, next one is class Hirudinea. So we discussed about the class Oligochaeta, and the type belonging to this Oligochaeta is earthworm. Next one is Hirudinea. Hirudinea, class Hirudinea mainly include leeches. And leeches are freshwater, some are marine, some are also present in moist terrestrial habit. Mostly the leeches are ectoparasitic. That means they live on the outside of they live in the outside of body, and their blood sucking forms. Their dorso-ventrally flattened. That means like our needles. I will show you the image. They are dorso-ventrally flattened, and their body consists of a limited number of segments. That means precisely there are 33 segments in their body. In case of leeches, there are 33 segments. And parapodiae and setae like structures for locomotion, these are absent. Parapodiae, setae are absent. And there are so many suckers. These are blood sucking organisms. These are ectoparasitic blood sucking organism. So they have some adaptations. They have some parasitic adaptations to have suck the blood into their mouth, or some digestive adaptation, etc. So one of such adaptation is that there are so many suckers. The segments at anterior and posterior extremities are modified into suckers. There are so many suckers present in their body. The anterior sucker usually is smaller than posterior and surround the mouth. There are mainly two suckers, anterior sucker and posterior sucker. The anterior sucker is small when compared to the posterior sucker. And this posterior, then the posterior sucker is a disc shaped one, and this posterior sucker help to attach the body and also help in the locomotion. And next one is about their head. Head region consists of 5 segments, and dorsally the head region, on dorsal side the head region bear eyes. It is called ocelli. In case of Hirudinea, there are 5 ocelli are present. Okay, then ventrally, dorsally it exhibit 5 ocelli, and ventrally it is modified to form anterior sucker. In head region there are 5 segments are there. Dorsally the head consists of 5 ocelli, and ventrally it form anterior sucker. Ventrally the head region consists of an anterior sucker. Then mouth is present, or the mouth is present in the center of the sucker. Then trunk, next one is there about their trunk, and which consists of 21 segments. Head region consists of 5 segments. The trunk region consists of 21 segments. Then this trunk region we can categorize into 3 regions: clitellar region, and just above that, that is preclitellar region. Then just after that, that is called postclitellar region. 3 regions are there. Then next one is anus. Anus is situated dorsal to the posterior sucker. Then it is hermaphrodite, and fertilization is internal. Okay, fertilization is internal. Then in case of earthworm, the fertilization is external, and the leeches develop a clitellum during the breeding season. You know clitellum now, we studied in earthworm. Then fertilized egg are deposited in cocoons like earthworm. Then directly new Hirudinea or leeches are, the development is actually direct without any larval stages. That's about the class Hirudinea. Next one is type study, that is Hirudinaria. Indian cattle leech, ectoparasitic ആണ്, and they have some adaptations, blood feeding adaptations they possess. Body is elongated, cylindrical, and it is dorsoventrally flattened. There are 33 segments are there in their body. Then the body is divisible into head, trunk, and posterior region. The head consists of 5 segments. We already studied in the general characteristics. The head consists of 5 segments, and head bear anterior sucker on the ventral side, and 5 pair, not 5 pair of ocelli on the dorsal side. Mouth is located on the center of anterior sucker. We know that the head segments, that there are 5 segments, and the head consists of an anterior sucker, mouth present in the middle of that anterior sucker. And trunk consists of 21 segment. Then it involve preclitellar, clitellar, and the postclitellar region. And the posterior sucker region involves 7 segments, and anus is there. Dorsal to the posterior sucker, anus is present. And muscular body wall, there are so many longitudinal circular muscles are there. And next one is about their coelom. Coelom is highly reduced one, or the unusual coelom. Coelom is reduced by and development of connective tissues. There are so many connective tissues in the coelom, so the coelomic fluid is very little. That's about their coelom. Then the coelomic cavity contain, there are so many channels. Coelomic cavity contain 4 longitudinal channels, precisely 4 longitudinal channels. These channels contain coelomic fluid, and coelomic fluid contain dissolved hemoglobin. In case of Hirudinea, unlike our Nereis and earthworm, the blood vessels are absent. True blood vessels are absent, and the gaseous exchange take place by their body surface. That's about their respiration. They respire through their body wall or their body surface, and the leeches can move by swimming, crawling, etc. That's about the general features of Hirudinaria, our example. Then they are blood sucking ectoparasites, so they possess some adaptations, parasitic adaptations. First one, they have some first one is about their suckers. There are anterior sucker, posterior suckers, etc. And during the feeding, the Hirudinea attached to the host by anterior sucker, and they cut the skin of the host using a jaw-like chitinous jaws are there. 1 dorsal and 2 ventrolateral jaws are there. Chitinous jaws are there. 3 jaws are there. First one is dorsal, and remaining 2 is ventrolateral jaw-like structure. And this help to cut the host tissue. Okay, then they have unicellular salivary gland in between the jaw, and this salivary gland will secrete an anticoagulant called hirudin. So the anticoagulant hirudin will prevent the clotting of blood, or which will prevent the coagulation of the blood. And another substance which is unknown, which will give an anesthetic which have an anesthetic activity. So the host is unaware of the presence of this parasite and its blood feeding. So the secretions ensure the continuous flow from the host body, flow of blood from the host body. And the muscular pumping pharynx. Next adaptation is the pharynx. Muscular pumping pharynx, which help in the sucking of blood. Then esophagus open into a crop-like structure. Then crop-like structure, and which is expanded by 11 pairs of ceca, and blood is pumped by the pharynx, because the pharynx is a special one, that is muscular pumping pharynx, and the blood is pumped by the pharynx into the crop. When crop is full, the greatly distended leech drop off the host. That means it feed on host. When the crop is full, the leech distended from the host. With the fully loaded crop, the parasite can survive without feeding for several days. Okay, then digestion is also unusual. That means a bacteria called Pseudomonas hirudinea present in the gut, which help to break down high molecular structures, high molecular weight proteins, carbohydrate, fat, etc. And the symbiosis help in the in the digestion of the Hirudinea. And excretion is through nephridia. Excretion is through nephridia, and the principal waste product is ammonia. Then it is also hermaphrodite, direct development. Mating occur on land in the summer. The fertilized egg, after fertilization is internal. After fertilization, the eggs are laid 2 or 3 weeks after copulation. That means after copulation, the fertilization is during fertilization, the male and sperm will unite. This process is called fertilization. Then the product is called zygote, and this zygote, after 3 or 2 weeks, the zygote will release. The clitellum become conspicuous and secrete a cocoon. Like earthworm, there will be a cocoon, and which albumin and the fertilized eggs are deposited onto this cocoon. That means the fertilization is internal. The zygote is deposited into the egg, and the cocoon and the development of the zygote. In case of earthworm, sperm and egg are directly released into the cocoon, but here the fertilization is internal, and the product of fertilization, that is the zygote, will release into the cocoon, and the development occur inside the cocoon. Okay, and the cocoon then left in the damp soil, and young leeches hatch directly from the cocoon. That's about the Hirudinea. Next one is about the vermiculture. Vermiculture, this is the structure, digestive structure, and some suckers of the Hirudinea. This is the head sucker. Okay, this is the head sucker. 2 jaws, you can see 2 jaws here. Okay, then ridge of teeth. Chitinous jaw-like structure is present. Then salivary duct. Then salivary cells are here. There are mass of salivary gland present in case of Hirudinea. It is a parasitic adaptation. Head region, there are 5 segments. Then salivary glands, here a mass of salivary gland present. This is crop, head crop. When the crop is full with blood, the leech leave from the host. Then the crop continue to stomach, intestine, rectum, anus, etc. And this is their posterior structure. This is about the Hirudinea. Next one is about vermiculture. I think it's clear. Then next one is vermiculture. Vermiculture means artificial cultivation or artificial rearing of earthworm. Earthworm. The culturing of earthworm is done for a different purpose. For example, vermicomposting, for the production of vermi wash, for animal feed manufacturing, organic waste management, etc. We can use soil as well as suitable bed material like sawdust, husk, rice bran, etc. Okay, and we use different containers like the 4 tank system, 2 tank system, or cement ring system, etc. We use different systems for vermiculture. Okay, then we can maintain a particular moisture level, and the moisture should be maintained between 15 to 20 gram percentage, and the uh, adult worms or cocoon can be introduced into the beds for rearing. Then vermicomposting. Vermicomposting is actually a simple biotechnological process. We can use only certain species. For example, the Lambito mauriti, Perinoix excavatus, etc. And some exotic species like Eastnia foetida, Eudrilus eugenia, etc. For examples for the common species for vermicomposting is in your text. Next one, the vermicomposting is a mesophilic bio-oxidative process. Mesophilic means it occurs in a medium or moderate temperature. Then that means below 30 degrees Celsius. And we also there are so many microorganisms. The earthworm and microorganism as well as some soil invertebrate, they decompose the waste material. But the earthworm and some invertebrates do not have the capacity to break down cellulose. Cellulose is the plant material. The earthworm and other invertebrates lack, or animals actually lack, cellulase enzyme. Cellulase is an enzyme to degrade cellulose. So animals, especially the earthworm and some lower invertebrates, lack cellulase enzyme. So it is very difficult to digest the plant material. So the microorganism help in the digestion of the plant material. The microorganisms produce cellulase enzyme that will cause the biochemical decomposition of the organic matter. So the group work performed by the earthworm, microorganisms and other small invertebrates will cause the decomposition of the organic material. Then the end product of vermicomposting is vermicompost, and it is a highly porous and high water holding capacity and low carbon nitrogen ratio. And it is an eco-friendly process, and the fertilizer is organic, and also the organic vermicompost contain so many plant growth regulators and plant growth hormone which also nourish the plant. Okay. Then there are different types of species are used for vermicomposting. First one is epigeek worms. Epigeek worms means they live above the mineral soil surface. They live just above the soil surface. Then next one is anig worms, that Anic worms are live in permanent or vertical burrows in the soil layer. And endogenic worms mean they live in just they live in the mineral soil. First one is epigic, that means they live just above the mineral soil layer. And anic means they live in small vertical burrows, permanent burrows in the mineral layer. Endogic means they live in the mineral soil itself. Then some examples: Lambitum, Maurit Lake, Perionyx excavatus like earthworms are example for vermicomposting. Earthworms used for vermicomposting. Next one is about vermiwash. Vermiwash is a liquid that is collected after passing water through a column of worm activity. So it contain so many products like excretory product, mucus secretion from the earthworm, as well as nutrient from the soil. It also contains some plant growth hormone, plant growth regulators, etc. So it is we can use it for spray, foliar spray, which also enhance the plant growth, and we can control some disease also by using vermiwash. This is about the vermiculture. So it is actually artificial rearing or cultivation of earthworm, and it's organic high. The product is called vermicompost, and it is highly porous, organic, and high water holding capacity. And vermiwash is a liquid collected after passing water through a column of worm activity. That's about today.